Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. The Chernobyl accident on April 26, 1986 had long-lasting effects on public health in the region of Ukraine. The record documents an increase in thyroid-related health problems linked to environmental exposure, requiring ongoing follow-up for local residents. The event became a warning landmark in the history of nuclear energy. In 1952, actress Marilyn Monroe posed for photographer Philippe Halsman in a session that captured her meteoric rise in global cinema. That year, films such as Almas Desesperadas helped establish her name, while her work with renowned photographers shaped the visual culture of an era. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg share a goodbye kiss through the barred window of an official vehicle in 1951. Accused of leaking information at the height of the Cold War, they became the focus of one of the most controversial trials in the United States. The political tension of the era shaped the defining outcome of their marriage. A medical record dated May 14, 1908, documents physical effects of an advanced endocrine condition in a patient. The image shows signs such as bulging eyes and other changes around the eye area, serving as an archive for studying how diagnosis evolved in the early 20th century. A child looks at the damage caused by air raids during the major conflict of the 20th century. Surrounded by rubble, the boy symbolizes the civilian impact on European cities, leaving deep scars on urban infrastructure and on collective memory. British troops form an aid line in Esther after being affected by incidents involving irritating substances on April 10, 1918. With their eyes bandaged, they rely on physical contact to move forward, showing the severe health effects of new military technologies on people in the operational zone. Imperial authorities detain a leader of the Boxer movement for public sentencing in China after the uprising against foreign influence. On December 31, 1900, records documented the end of the nationalist resistance, confirming the victory of colonial powers over the peasant revolt. A Russian survivor points to a German officer during an identification process at a detention facility in Germany in 1945. The contrast between the prisoner's striped clothing and the military uniform shows the reversal of power after the site was liberated. The moment reflects the post-war push for accountability. Civilians struggle across the ruins of a twisted metal structure after hostilities ended in Europe in 1945. Carrying basic belongings, displaced people searched for shelter or a way back home in a deeply shaken continent, marking the hard beginning of reconstruction. The cargo ship SS Richard Montgomery sank in the Thames estuary in August 1944 while carrying a highly sensitive cargo. The vessel remains underwater with masts still visible, marked by safety warnings that tell visitors to keep a safe distance from the historic site. German soldiers emerged from a brick structure under Red Army Guard in 1945. With hands raised and visible signs of hardship, the group walks across the snow, signaling the conflict's end through surrender amid heavy damage. Members of the Bopoto people in the Congo River region display modified teeth and complex facial ritual marks as symbols of status and cultural identity. On November 12, 1905, explorers documented these ancestral practices tied to beauty rights and distinctions among local ethnic groups. Actress Raquel Welch became a global icon of pop culture and fashion during the 1960s. In 1967, her image symbolized shifting beauty standards in Hollywood cinema, influencing generations through roles that combine strong screen presence with a new style of femininity. In the European winter of 1944, an Allied soldier shares a human moment with a dog at a snow-covered defensive position. The interaction took place on January 15, 1945, showing how animals could offer comfort and support on the front lines. Soviet soldiers offer food and care to a helpless child during fighting on the Eastern Front of the major conflict of the 20th century. Amid the destruction of the time, moments of humanity between uniformed troops and vulnerable civilians became rare records of compassion. The scene reflects how deeply the conflict affected childhood. Workers and technicians monitor the control room panels at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in 1986. The system of gauges and switches managed the unit's energy flow. The setting became a reference point for industrial safety and engineering studies in the late 20th century. Two crouching German soldiers try to comfort a child who is crying hard in 1944. The image captures a moment of humanity amid the harshness of war, with the soldiers in standard uniforms and gear. The interaction highlights how vulnerable civilians were as the conflict advanced. Sitting on the rubble of her home, a London woman drinks tea after an air raid in 1940. Open suitcases and broken wood surround her as she keeps a sense of normalcy amid the damage. Civilian resilience became a British symbol in that period. Participants in the Boxer Uprising are shown held in restraint devices after the revolt failed in China. The movement, which sought to expel foreign and Christian influence, ended with an international coalition intervening and imposing harsh sanctions on the imperial government. The punishment known as the Kangui was used in China during the Qing dynasty for lesser offenses. In 1902, detainees were displayed in public places with wooden boards describing their cases, serving as a method of public shaming and local social control. During the Cannes Film Festival in 1955, Italian actress Sophia Loren embodied the rise of post-war European cinema. The event on the French Riviera strengthened her image as a global icon of elegance and natural beauty. In that decade, fashion and beauty standards reflected the cultural heritage of Southern Europe. Mata Hari became an icon of intelligence activity during the Great War. Born in the Netherlands as Margrethe Zell, she rose to fame on European stages before being accused of acting as a go-between for rival sides. Her fate was sealed on October 15, 1917, turning her life into an enduring mystery. Social tension and ethnic clashes erupted in Los Angeles in 1943, culminating in incidents targeting young people of Mexican heritage associated with zoot suits. The episode exposed racial divisions in California and led to detentions and conflicts widely documented by the press of the time. A woman holds a mug in front of the wreckage of a rail accident that happened on July 17, 1924. The damage scene contrasts with the witness's calm, highlighting how often incidents like this occurred as rail networks expanded and technical failures were common. A sailor and a young woman share an affectionate moment aboard HMS Nelson in 1938. Sitting on one of the ship's large pieces of equipment, they capture a farewell or reunion, typical of the period before the Royal Navy mobilized for rising naval tensions in Europe. A young woman poses in a military outfit and a full skirt in front of sandbags and large equipment. The image blends the strict look of a uniform with women's fashion, creating a portrait that challenges the era's purely practical style. The composition highlights women's presence behind the scenes of the period. A man tries to sell his car for only $100 on the streets of New York City right after the financial collapse on October 24, 1929. His sign says he lost his entire fortune in the stock market, illustrating immediate desperation and the deep economic crisis that launched the Great Depression worldwide. Early 20th century medical devices used electrical currents to treat many conditions in experimental clinics. This practice was common on March 14, 1910, and it often led to serious injuries because the equipment was unstable and technical regulation was lacking. A member of the Women's Royal Army Corps shows a butterfly tattoo on her leg to fellow servicewomen in the United Kingdom. On August 25, 1943, this image captured a relaxed moment of personal expression among women serving in crucial auxiliary roles during the Allied war effort. During an inspection at a detention facility on August 15, 1941, a Soviet soldier holds a defiant stare toward a high official of the German government. The silent confrontation through the fencing illustrates psychological resistance and intense ideological tension behind the scenes of the European conflict. Physical therapists operate suspension systems to guide patients into thermal pools, an advanced practice in 20th century rehabilitation. These hydrotherapy methods were important for treating injuries and movement disorders, using warm water and reduced impact to speed recovery. The use of basic protective gear became vital during the First World War. This fabric mask model shows the technological effort to withstand incidents involving chemical substances on operational fronts. Safety often depended on equipment like this. During the Spanish flu outbreak, strict public health measures were imposed to slow the spread of disease. In some places, face coverings were mandatory and could lead to police intervention. People pose with the accessory and a warning notice on April 3, 1918, showing how strict the health rules were. Archaeologist Howard Carter opened the tomb of Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings on November 26, 1922. The excavation revealed intact treasures and sarcophagi preserved for millennia, marking one of the greatest discoveries in Egyptology and transforming global understanding of ancient Egypt's burial rituals. In the 1920s, the use of large hunting weapons known as punt guns was still being documented before they were fully banned. These devices were mounted on small boats to reach large groups of waterfowl, reflecting commercial practices in an industry that later faced tighter restrictions. The size of this ivory tusk brought from the Kilimanjaro region in Tanzania in the early 20th century is striking. Held up by several people, it shows how colonial trade extracted resources on an extreme scale. The image reveals heavy logistics and the utilitarian mindset that defined that period. In the middle of a celebrating crowd in Times Square, a sailor kisses a nurse as a newspaper announces the end of the conflict in 1945. The spontaneous gesture captures a shared release after years of tension, with confetti on the ground and stunned faces all around. Albert Einstein stands in a crowd during his visit to the New York World's Fair in 1939. The physicist shares the space with spectators in the era's formal clothing, including hats and dark jackets. The event symbolized technological and cultural optimism before new global conflicts began. The Solvay Conference brought the brightest minds in physics to Brussels on October 24, 1927, to debate quantum mechanics. Scientists such as Marie Curie and Albert Einstein took part in this historic meeting that strengthened key theories about the structure of matter and radiation. Nikola Tesla works in his office at 8 West 40th Street in New York City during 1916. The inventor spent long hours developing wireless power transmission technologies and alternating current motors, cementing his legacy as one of the greatest minds in electricity. Workers labor at dizzying heights during the construction of the Empire State Building in New York City throughout 1930. Without modern safety gear, they balanced on steel beams to raise the skyscraper that would become one of the world's great engineering landmarks. Charlie Chaplin and Mary Pickford appear together in an image that symbolizes the founding of United Artists. On February 5, 1919, these silent film icons joined forces to secure greater creative control over their work, challenging the studio system of the day and changing the course of Hollywood. The historic meeting between Charlie Chaplin and Mahatma Gandhi took place on September 22, 1931, in London during the Round Table Conference. The moment brought together the greatest icon of silent film and the Indian spiritual leader, showing shared support for humanitarian causes and a global push for peace and social justice. Sports icons Bill Russell and Muhammad Ali share a relaxed moment in front of Slade's Original Barbecue during the 1960s. The meeting between the basketball star and the world boxing champion highlights influential figures using their fame to shape conversations about social justice. Bruce Lee and Nora Miao appear together behind the scenes of a film production in Hong Kong during the 1970s. Their partnership was important to martial arts cinema, strengthening Asian cultural influence in global entertainment of that era. Stephen Hawking and Jane Wilde celebrate their wedding in a ceremony held on July 14, 1965, in Cambridge. The image marks the start of a marriage that became central to the physicist's life, happening shortly after his medical diagnosis and providing support for his future breakthroughs. The head of the Statue of Liberty is displayed to the public at the Champ de Mars in Paris in 1883. Before it was sent to the United States as a diplomatic gift, the copper structure allowed people in France to see the monumental details of Frederick Auguste Bartholdi's work up close. Marilyn Monroe gave a series of performances for United States troops in Korea on February 16, 1954. The Hollywood star's visit aimed to boost morale for soldiers stationed there after the conflict, strengthening her image as a cultural icon supporting United States service members. Marilyn Monroe visits recovering service members at a health facility in Tokyo in 1954. The Hollywood star paused her honeymoon in Japan to offer encouragement and autographs, a gesture that strengthened her public image and brought comfort to people in post-war recovery. Maurice Tillet, born on October 23, 1903, was a French professional wrestler who became famous worldwide in the ring during the 1930s and 1940s. His distinctive appearance, caused by acromegaly, helped inspire the visual creation of Shrek. Tillet spoke multiple languages and was a talented poet. Robert Wadlow walks down an Illinois street in the 1930s, showing the striking scale of his height. Known as the Giant of Alton, he reached physical measurements unmatched in modern medicine. His life drew worldwide attention and left a mark on medical records of that century. Jackie the Lion, the official mascot of MGM, is filmed in a studio in 1929 to capture the famous opening roar. The production shows the use of microphones and heavy cameras from the early sound era, solidifying Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's visual and audio identity in the industry. Photographer Alfred Eisenstadt captured children's fascination during a puppet show at the Tuileries Garden on July 12, 1963. The kids' expressions capture the spirit of public entertainment in Paris in the 1960s, preserving a pure and spontaneous reaction to French popular art. Cairo's vast necropolises hold mausoleums that trace back to the power of the Mamluk dynasty in Egypt. In 1890, the desert setting highlighted the carved stone domes where sultans and emirs were buried. Camel caravans crossed these age-old routes of pilgrimage and trade. A man on a camel poses in front of the massive engines of a Soyuz rocket in Kazakhstan during the 1980s. The visual contrast highlights the meeting of steppe traditions with peak Soviet aerospace technology at the Baikonur Cosmodrome during that era. Workers rest on the suspension cables of the St. John's Bridge in Portland during the final stage of construction on June 13, 1931. The imposing steel Gothic structure over the Willamette River reflects the challenges of civil engineering and the working conditions of the American labor force during the Great Depression. Athlete Paul Anderson performs a squat using improvised metal wheels as weights during training in the 1950s. His dedication to strength sports helped him win the gold medal at the Melbourne Olympic Games on November 23, 1956, cementing his legacy in weightlifting. Workers labor on the Ford Motor Company assembly line in 1903, marking the start of an industrial revolution in the United States. The adoption of mass production methods enabled efficient vehicle manufacturing, transforming the automotive industry and global consumption of durable goods. An operator adjusts a kinetograph camera on a city rooftop in 1912. First developed in Thomas Edison's laboratories, this equipment was key to the birth of the global film industry. The technology made it possible to capture motion and reshape how society saw the world. A prototype of French aerodynamic engineering, the Vélo Torpille bicycle was presented to the public in 1913 by inventor Etienne Bunau-Varilla. Its bullet-shaped fairing reduced air resistance, allowing impressive speeds for the standards of the time on racetracks. In the early 20th century, French inventors such as de Puiseux explored blending cycling with early aviation. By attaching glider frameworks to bicycles, these enthusiasts tried to push the limits of human-powered flight, contributing to the development of modern aeronautical engineering. Inventors test a flying bicycle prototype in Italy in 1895, reflecting the turn-of-the-century obsession with reaching the skies. The design attached experimental wings to a standard two-wheel frame. These bold attempts helped pave the way for key advances in modern aerodynamics. Edward Otto's bicycle appeared in the mid-1880s as a curious alternative to traditional designs of the time. With two large parallel wheels, it required careful balance from the rider. The invention's popularity helped women explore mobility with greater social freedom. Workers and passengers pose with the first locomotive to operate in Iceland in 1913. The steam engine miner was essential to building the port of Reykjavik, hauling stone and heavy materials along the coast. This brief railway era reshaped the island nation's logistics infrastructure. In front of the grandeur of the Colosseum in 1897, everyday Roman life appears in small details. A street vendor under her umbrella contrasts with carriages crossing the dirt square. The ancient structure watches the city move as 19th century modernity draws closer. The arid lands of Baja California showed botanical specimens of colossal size in 1895. This organ pipe cactus stands out with massive vertical branches that make the person beside it look tiny. Mexican desert vegetation drew the interest of explorers and botanical researchers. A Navajo man embodies the sacred figure Nayenes Gani during a traditional ceremony in the United States in 1908. The image shows complex ritual clothing made of hides and symbolic adornments, reflecting spiritual depth and the preservation of ancestral traditions among Native nations. A rock engraving dated to about 25,000 years ago shows the outline of a female figure in a cave in France. This archaeological trace from the Upper Paleolithic reveals the artistic skill of early humans and their deep connection to themes of fertility and nature. Indigenous people in Oregon present a ceremonial salmon to the engineer of a modern streamlined train in 1940. The meeting highlights the contrast between ancestral traditions and fast railroad technology in the United States. This cultural exchange unfolds on tracks that run through native lands. During the 1940s, African American women played key roles in the defense industry, working technical jobs in aircraft and equipment factories. This female workforce was essential to keeping wartime logistics moving and helped reshape social and economic structures in that historical moment. Officers of the Auxiliary Territorial Service, the women's branch of the British Army, prepare for duty in Camberley in 1944. During the Second World War, Surrey served as a vital training center for women who took on essential logistics and operational roles for the Allied war effort. Early 20th century French postcards showed romantic scenes and everyday flirting, often with a look that was a bit bold for the time. On May 10, 1912, these images circulated as popular keepsakes, capturing social interactions and the lifestyle of the Belle Époque. Women attend a skincare class at Helena Rubinstein's prestigious salon in New York City in 1958. The setting reflects the post-war growth of the cosmetics industry, when self-applied makeup techniques and beauty routines became symbols of status and modern womanhood. A sunbather uses a cellophane blanket to speed up tanning in the sun in 1932. In that decade, ultraviolet science was still poorly understood, leading to experimental methods and products for beauty. The use of synthetic materials reflected the era's industrial optimism. Nuns watch closely as a woman in modern short clothing walks down a sidewalk in the 1960s. The moment captures cultural shock and changing social norms of the era, showing the rise of freer women's fashion against still strong conservative traditions. In 1963, navigation help centers ran on large printed maps and trained telephone operators. These professionals gave real-time directions, representing a crucial stage in logistics before digital systems became common. Couples gather in a Pittsburgh bar in 1959, sharing leisure and relaxed conversation. Above them, signs advertise classic dishes such as chicken and fried shrimp at the prices of the time. The scene captures social mixing and the lively feel of American nights at the end of that decade. An Army nurse and a soldier share a light-hearted moment as they dance during the Second World War. These recreational breaks were important for easing the stress of daily duty and strengthening bonds of humanity and resilience among service members in distant camps. Hector Murdoch returned home on October 15, 1945, on his birthday after years in detention during the conflict. The welcome with flags and signs reflects families' relief after the war, marking the transition to rebuilding civilian and family life in England. Sailors aboard the battleship USS New York organize a boxing match for the crew's entertainment on July 3, 1899. Events like this were common in the United States Navy to support discipline and physical conditioning, reflecting military leisure practices in the late 19th century. A recruit takes part in marksmanship training on April 22, 1970, marking the entry of the first black woman into the Oakland police force. The image symbolizes the breaking of racial and gender barriers in United States public safety institutions during a period of intense social change. Actors Charlie Chaplin and Edna Purviance appear in a scene from the film Burlesque on Carmen, originally released on April 22, 1915. The movie is a parody of a classic drama, strengthening their artistic partnership in silent cinema and showing early 20th century advances in visual storytelling and humor. Rowan Atkinson plays an officer in a comedy sketch filmed in London in 1982, using satire to mock authoritarian figures. Through physical comedy and exaggerated mannerisms, the British actor breaks down the image of power and military discipline associated with past totalitarian regimes. Comedian Eric Sykes operates a satirical contraption inspired by 19th century ideas to shave several people at the same time. The set recreates a Victorian barbershop with signs promising speed and safety. Filmed in the mid-1960s, the scene uses humor to poke fun at the mechanization of modern life. Drew Barrymore poses for photographer Bruce Weber in 1992, strengthening her image in the pop culture of that decade. The portrait made for Interview magazine uses dramatic lighting and smoke to create a rebellious mood. Grunge style and the actress's artistic growth shaped the look of the shoot. Curious personal wellness inventions appeared during the Second World War era, such as the heated face mask introduced in 1940. The electric device promised to warm the face and improve blood circulation, reflecting the search for technological solutions for comfort at home. Children watch huge blocks of ice on a busy street in New York City. In the early 20th century, refrigeration was a rare luxury, and the natural ice trade, harvested from rivers in winter, made it possible to keep food from spoiling. The image shows city life fascinated by this essential resource. Construction workers show fearlessness by playing golf on top of a steel beam on a New York City skyscraper in 1932. The scene captures the contrast between leisure and the dizzying city backdrop of a growing metropolis, illustrating workers' boldness in the era of massive building projects. Mahatma Gandhi walks among textile workers in Darwin during his visit to England for the Second Round Table Conference on September 26, 1931. The Indian leader sought dialogue with workers affected by the boycott of British textiles, showing his global influence and popular charisma. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.